What's up, lads and ladettes? How are we all doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastically well. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about why you should focus on the long game. Now, what do I mean by the long game? So, Entropia Universe is one of those very interesting games where it's very easy to get caught up in the here and now without looking towards the future. But Entropia Universe is one of those games where you really need to look towards the future beyond, you know, what you currently have, what your current ped card looks like, what your current ammo situation looks like, and what your current storage container looks like. So let's say you're free to play, depositor, whatever you're doing, right? Let's say right now you are depositing $10 a week. Let's just say, you know, you get to a Friday or whatever, you put 10 bucks in, you get 100 PED worth of universal ammunition or whatever, right? And you do that every Friday or whatever, right? And you're thinking about, okay, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to be hunting and this, that, and the other. But one of the things that you also need to focus on is, where do I want to be, 4 or 5 months from now? So let's say you go out and you do your, you're hunting, right? So you go out, you're hunting, and let's say that you end up, by the end of your Friday night session, you convert all of your shrapnel and you have this amount of universal ammo left, and then you sell everything else and you have like 36.27 PED left, right? Now, obviously, that's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to be closer to, you'll probably have more PED, probably, right? But let's just say you get to a point, you've finished for the week, and, you know, you want to think about what's next, right? And you might be thinking, I'm going to save up all of my bickies, and I'm going to go to the auction house, and I'm gonna get new weapon, new this, that, and the other. You know, I'm gonna, little bit of a frame drop there. You're thinking, I'm gonna come into here, and I am going to go to the auction house, and let's say you've got a couple of, you know, you've been saving up, and you've got a couple of 100 PED, and you're like, you know, I really want to get a new weapon, right? I really want to get a new weapon. So you come and you're like, I want to get a sword. So you look in the swords, long blades, look in the long blade, and you're like, you know, I've got like 300 PED. I'm going to get myself one of these things, right? I'm going to get myself a glacier sword and all that jazz. But then you start looking and you're like, oh, well, I could wait a little bit longer and I might be able to save up and get like this hero sword. It's higher level, but I could save up and get it, right? Or you're like, maybe that Archon sword, you know, is a little bit higher level, just a little tiny bit, but you know, the efficiency is also higher, right? So let's just pin these. These are going to be our examples. So we look at these, it's like, you need a little bit more, but there's a little bit more efficiency. So they're like, you know, I'll just save up my stuff, right? So let's say you've made the right choice and you're like, you know what, I'm going to save up my PED. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. You know, I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing, or, you know, look at a different mob to hunt so you get a little bit extra markup, whatever you're planning on doing. And you decide not to spend your PED. Smart call. Because you're thinking towards a goal. But there is more to the game than just getting the brand new weapon, right? Because you got to remember, with the brand new weapon comes the cost, the repair of the brand new weapon, and all that sort of stuff. So what should you do? Okay, what should you be doing? My humblest of opinions is you should be focusing on your shares and your deeds, your ped flow sort of stuff, right? You should be focusing on these things, which is something that I've only just started to do. That's because I've looked at what I've got. I'm like, okay, I'm fine, but I've got a bunch of PED just sitting there. What should I do with it? I decided to put it into shares and deeds. So in the shares, I've put 30 into each of these. I haven't got any Rocktropia ones, only because I'm not spending that much on Rocktropia deeds. Right? So what I do is each fortnight, because that's, I put money in each fortnight. I spend a little bit, I do my hunting and all that sort of stuff, and at the end of the fortnight, I have a look at how much I have in my balance here. Now, you always want to save a little bit in your balance. You always want to save a little bit just in case, right? But what I've done is, instead of having it floating about in my pet card, I've put it into a place that might actually garner me more PED in the long run. Right, so I, at the moment, am sitting on 50 Arcadia Underground deeds, right? Now, these 50 Arcadia Underground deeds will generally net you around 1 PEC per day, right? So 1 PEC per day when there's not some big event going on Calypso. So, essentially, what I'm hoping will happen is every day I will get 50 PEC, and then at the end of a 7-day period, I'll get, like 3 PED 50. Alright, 3 PED 50. Doesn't sound like a lot. But if I was to just leave this, because I'm planning on saving up to get a good weapon in the future, if I'm keeping these aside, then, I'm not just looking at 1 week. I might be looking at, 1 year. And, 1 year, a lot can happen in 1 year. There might be something that happens on Arcadia. People go to Arcadia and, they start spending all their money on Arcadia, and then all of a sudden it's not just, 1 PEC, it's 2 or 3 PEC. You know what I'm saying? So, what I'll do is I'll continue to get Arcadia Underground deeds as long as they're available. And right now they are selling for about 80. Right, so they're selling for about 80 PED a pop. Now, the good thing about deeds and shares is, as long as you hold on to them, not only will you be getting your income from the dividends, but you'll also have this non-free floating PED. You're making your PED work for you. So, for instance, in the exchange, if every single one of these were to pay out, what they usually do, I'll get 30, 60, 90, 120, and then if this pays out 3 PEC per share, then I'll get around an extra 90 from that. So that's 2 PED, 10 PEC. Combine these together, it's around about 5 PED. Roughly, it's closer to 6 PED. We'll say 5 PED, right? So that's just this right now, and that would be each week. Now, if by the end of next fortnight I am able to put in, I've got free floating PED, right? If I've got free floating PED, whatever, I can then throw it into this and make it work for me. But I'm not throwing them in there with the intent of leaving it in there forever. Okay, now this is where I might differ a little bit with this on Law Spade, right? Because I'm going to be putting my PED in there to save it in there, but also, garner a little bit of interest, right? Of course, when I eventually sell this stuff, there's a little bit of time where, okay, I want to wait to then have gained enough from the interest to sell it and not make a loss from it. That is one thing you also need to think about and focus on. Did I make enough to offset any costs to sell and any deviation in price of shares and deeds? Those are things that you also need to take into account. So right now, this is what? That's around about 4,000 PED. worth of Arcadia Underground deeds. And in the shares, I've got around about 1,000 there, 300, 300, under 300, 300-ish. So I've got probably close to 7,000. No, yeah, right about 6,000 PED tied up in deeds and shares. Now, if I wanted to, I could sell them all. And I could go to the auction house and I could get... let's have a look. You know, I could get an Archon sword if I want to. But I don't really want to get an Archon sword because I deposit a lot with strong boxes and strongbox keys, right? So I am personally using my deposit to get ammunition, pills, potentially rings, all that sort of stuff. That's what I'm using my deposit for, you know? But, you know, if I was to take what I have now and sell it, I could, you know, look at the... Let's look at the ranged. You know, I could sell it and get, like, a Zora's HK if I didn't want to go and do the missions on Cyrene. But I do, so don't need to worry about that. Or I can go over to the Mind Force. Let's look at the chips, the attack chips in the Mind Force. You know, I could sell some of them and get, say, a Lacerating Attack Nano Chip 10. I'm not high enough level for it, but this is just an example. Right? But the efficiency isn't really where I want to be. Okay? It's not where I want to be. So what I could do is I can look at the ranged weapons, the weapons that I actually want to use. Let's have a look at the LR stuff, right? Let's have a look at the laser things. So up here, we have a 20 edition Fireforge. Let's have a look at this one. This is like 20,000. That's a little bit better of efficiency, right? So 76.9. So that right there could be something I could look at and be like, yeah, I want to save up for that, you know? Or I could be like, okay, I'm going to continue to save up. I'm going to keep my stuff in the deeds and shares, and I'm going to aim for this LR60, which is even higher efficiency and is my level, right? It is my level. It is something that not only will I be able to utilize, but something that I'll be able to utilize forever, right? Something that I could utilize forever, and then my money would be tied up in this weapon, right? So then my money would be tied up in the weapon instead of in the deeds and shares, because you got to remember, as long as you're not just buying ammo from the TT, then TTing everything, then buying more ammo from the TT and TTing everything, as long as you're not just constantly gambling with the funds that you have, as long as you're putting them into items that you're going to use, but items that you'll also be able to sell back for your buying price, or in deeds and shares, your money is essentially floating, but it's in a useful form instead of just being on your ped card. Does that make sense? What if I'm like, you know, I don't want to go for something so extreme that I'll, you know, need to wait a few years to actually buy? What if I want to get something a little bit cheaper? We can look at the BLPs. And, okay, there's none on there at the momento. Let's have a look at, yeah, we'll have a look at the pistols, right? So let's say I wanted to look at something in that's a little bit cheaper. What's this one? Yeah, no, I don't want anything like that. No. Alright, let's say I wanted something, you know, 20,000 PED cheaper. I could look at something like that, but with that efficiency, it's not really something that I want to look at either. Okay? So this is where keeping your stuff in a in a state like deeds and shares, you'll be able to come on, you'll be able to look and be like, okay, this is what I'm working with in my deeds and shares that I could sell. Is there anything currently for sale that I might want to buy, or is there anyone that I know that is selling XYZ thing that I want to buy, right? And it's not just the weapons as well, it's also jewelry and things like that. Let's have a look at, if we have a look at the most expensive jewelry, that's the most expensive ring that's on here at the moment, that's the Summer Ring 2020, right? Lifesteal, crit damage, and increased critical chance by 3%. It's a right-handed ring. You know, this could be a really, really solid one to get. There's a reason why it costs so much. Let's have a look at the Halloween ring. This one is a left-handed ring. Increases your run speed, your reload speed, your critical damage, your critical chance, and lifesteal. So you might decide, you know what, instead of getting a new weapon, I'm going to save up and mix and match these two rings, right? This is what I'm talking about, where you should focus on the long game, right? In your early days, you should be saving up. You should be putting your PED into not only playing the game, because you should play the game, but you should also be putting your floating PED, not all of it, mind you, but you should be putting your floating PED into deeds and shares, so you can save it for when you want to buy one of these things. And it has the added bonus of, if you get into the routine of each week putting XYZ PED that you're not going to be spending into deeds and shares, it's going to snowball, right? And it will eventually snowball to the point where you're going to be getting enough from the deeds and shares to buy deeds and shares, or you're going to be getting enough from deeds and shares to where you can have extra PED just on hand if you want it. And here's the interesting thing, guys. When it comes to playing the game, it's as expensive as you make it, right? It's as expensive as you make it. There are mobs that are low level that you can hunt and turn a profit, right? There are high level mobs that you can hunt for years and never turn a profit at all because they just don't have anything, right? So it's not all about how much PED you're spending, it's about the amount of mobs that you're cycling, right? So there's no point in having thousands and thousands of PED on hand if you're hunting low level, right? So put it where it's going to make more PED. And that's what I mean by focus on the long game, focus on the long term. Because there is so much equipment that you might want. And it's not just equipment either. You might want to get an estate, right? You might want to get an actual, you might want to get a tower. Not a tower. You might want to get an apartment in one of these towers. Like, let's see this Cthulhu Towers 5H, right? This is on Rocktropia, I believe. No, not Rocktropia. Monria. The other one up here is on Rocktropia. So you might want to get one of these, right? Or you might want to save up and get a shop. You know, you might want to get a shop on FOMO. You might want to get, you know, other places. There are so many different things that you might want to get, you know? But if you've just got the PED floating there, it's not really going to be... It's going to be more tempting to spend it on stupid shit than it is to save it and save it up for good shit. You know what I'm saying? So that is my recommendation. Now, you might have a completely different opinion on that, and that's completely fine, right? Everyone is entitled to their own opinions and their own thoughts on where you should put your PED, where you should put your money, and all that sort of stuff. But if you have a goal, and don't mind the sound in the background, that's just my son jumping around. If you have goals, you'll be more inclined to save up for them goals, right? And if you're going to be saving your PED, putting them into deeds and shares, you know, it will give you more in the long run, you know, which I think is really good. My goal at the moment is to get the deeds and shares to a point where they'll snowball. And then I can use the, you know, the snowballed PED to buy more deeds and shares to then continue the snowball. And then eventually at some point in the future, once there is a weapon that I want, both for the efficiency but also the aesthetics. Let's face it, I'm a man that likes the aesthetics of a weapon. I enjoy the way cool things look, okay? Like, okay, if I go into my weapons, I bought this weapon that I'm not even gonna use because it's limited. I bought it because it's a pirate pistol. I'm never gonna use it, it's gonna be a wall hanger. But I bought it because it looks cool. And I still have, you know, I haven't sold this, I've just kept it because it's a cool looking axe, you know? It's just cool. It's what I like. I like cool looking things. You know? That's why I have my rep edges. I mean, I'll eventually use the rep edge, but that's why I keep things. I like the look of stuff. Hey, Lawspade shop. Oh. It went away. This guy looks like he's out of like Helldivers or whatever. Awesome. But that's just me. You guys might have a different thought on this. Let me know down below. Do you have like a different thought on this? Do you think that it's better to spend your PED to get them skills? Do you think that you should just be constantly shooting no matter what, and you know, who cares about the deeds and shares? Or do you think that people should not worry about getting any, you know, any unlimited items, and they should just go with limited stuff and get really cheap rings? What do you guys think? Now, this is thinking of like someone who, you know, a lower depositor over years, right? Or a free-to-play player over years and years. Like, because I hope this game is around for many, many, many years to come. And with the Unreal Engine 5 stuff coming out, I'm fairly certain it is going to be around for a long-ass time. So it is a good time to think towards the future, thinking of that long game. Anyway, guys, it's been like 20 minutes of me just talking about this crap, so I'm going to be leaving it there. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you got a little bit of thought or insight, or if this just tickled that part of your brain that says, maybe I should be putting the like 5,000 PED that I have on hand into deeds and shares, or I should buy a specific thing, you know, let me know, you know, because I always like seeing that shit. Anyway, y'all take care, stay safe. My kids are running amok. I'm gonna see what they're up to. You guys all stay safe, take care, and yeah, just take care of yourselves. See you guys.